I too would like to extend my welcome to all of you. You know, for us in the lighting space, I think that this comment is very apt, and that is, there'll be more change in the next decade than there has been in the last century in this lighting space. You're going to hear one of the industry leaders talk about OLED and the opportunities, and that's just one opportunity. When we think about what lighting means to all of us, technology coming into our space is going to allow us to create so much differentiation that the excitement is just extraordinary. And so you're going to hear from Peter this evening about, again, one aspect of Acuity, but one aspect of the lighting industry that represents wonderful change, wonderful design opportunities for all of you. So on behalf of Acuity, I'd like to welcome you all here. I think Peter is a fascinating speaker, and we just love the fact that he's part of the organization, has been for a long, long time. Other speakers that we're going to have over the next several months are part of Peter's group, and Peter's probably taught some of these folks. Dave DeLora, Kevin Lepper, just to name a few. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the experience. Now I'll turn it over to Jessica. Thank you.
Hi everyone! Thank you all for coming out to our very first Martinis and Lights event. I have the privilege of introducing Peter Ngai to you tonight, so I want to just tell you a little bit about him. Peter Ngai is the Vice President of Research and Development for Acuity Brands Lighting. Peter's work includes areas in photometry, solar illumination, brightness and glare research, lighting optics, and luminaire design and development. Peter holds over 50 patents in lighting design, luminaire optics, and luminaire design. He also has written many articles on subjects relating to lighting design and lighting applications. His work in luminaire design has resulted in numerous awards for Acuity Brands Lighting, including Most Innovative Product Award at Light Fair International 2011. Currently, Peter's areas of focus is in solid-state lighting, particularly OLED technology, which you're going to learn more about Peter from tonight. So Peter, if you come on up here. Let me go ahead and switch this off so I'm not even favorites. So thank you, Peter. We all look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want you to know that I'm so delighted to be here. I see some faces that I know, and also a lot of new faces that I do not. I think Peter Haggard said that the last time I was here was about 7, 8, or 9 years ago. I can't even believe that. I thought I'd been connected with New York for all these years. Actually, I still remember the first time I came over here. That was when all my hair was dark and black. At that time, I remember that I talked to Juice Horton and also Howard Branson, among others, and that was a delightful experience. And ever since then, which probably was about 35 years ago, and I would say that my heart never left New York. And so, thank you again, and welcome. And today, what I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about the OLED luminaire, a design perspective. One thing I want to mention is that this is a AIA credit as a continual education credit. So that's something that I'm supposed to announce. Currently, OLED lighting is in its starting state. Already at this time, there's a lot of anticipation and excitement as to what the future of OLED lighting is going to be. And that I would say that a lot of those anticipations are actually doable right now at this time. And others, I think it will take some more research and development. And there are also others, which I think is at this time still simply speculations. And what we are going to do today is that we're not going to talk about those futuristic design that is possible for with OLED. I think you have seen enough online or in some of the TV presentations about OLED, what it could be. But what I would really like to do is to be able to share with you a perspective, a design perspective as to what what OLED can do and what the perspective of how do we design OLED luminaires due to the nature and the character of that of the OLED light source. And because OLED light source is something that's very special, and today we would like to examine that and see how we can use it as a design tool. In order to do that, what we really like to do is to look at the background. What is that design perspective, and how did it come about? Well, in order to do that, we have to understand, to go into a little bit of the background. The background is that the lighting industry, for a long time, is a relatively self-contained and mature industry. I mean, we can take a look at as an example, the fluorescent lamp. In 1976, the fluorescent lamp has an efficacy of roughly about 75 lumens per watt. Today, the fluorescent lamp probably would have the maximum efficacy is about 110 lumens per watt. And so if you actually look at the entire 35 years, the fluorescent lamp's efficacy has increased about 1 lumen per watt per year. That's because the fluorescent lamp technology is probably pretty much maxed out and is mature. And that is generally the overall environment that we are in, until there's the guy called LED lighting. The LED industry, about in the early part of 2000s, the LED industry vis-a-vis the semiconductor industry, they trained their eyes on the lighting industry and said that lighting will be their next killer application. And that is how the entire solid state lighting started. I still remember when in the beginning of the Strategy of Light conference, actually there will be another conference next week in Santa Clara, near San Francisco. In the early days of the strategy of the Strategy of Light, and I remember I went there, and I remember I was the only one there that's connected with the lighting industry. Everybody else is the engineer or scientist in the semiconductor industry. And when you listen to them, it's like one physicist talk to another physicist about lighting and have nothing to do with lighting at all. And actually I raised my hand, I said, what about glare? What about visual comfort? They look at me as if I'm from Mars. And that was exactly what happened at that time. And the lighting and the semiconductor industry, they are, in a way, they're so powerful. Well, first of all, they are those folks, they are very smart, and they work very hard, and they have a lot of money, and they are politically, they are very, very connected. And in a way, if you think about this, when's the last time a president of the United States visited a lighting factory? Right? But President Obama went to see twice, isn't it? Within 4 years. So you can just see that the kind of influence, political influence that the LED and the semiconductor industry has. And the same thing for us. In a way, we are almost like when we are aware of what's going on, they are here already. Somebody said that instead of the LED industry getting into lighting, they say the lighting industry is being hijacked by the LED industry. Regardless of what they say, but that is what the background of what we're doing. And the main strategy for the LED industry is that they are very smart and they are great in the sense that the strategy is to use relentless innovation and improvement on energy savings. So you see from the get-go, first of all, they overcame the efficacy of the incandescent lamp, 15 lumens per watt. It's almost nothing for them. and then they blow through that and go to about 50 lumens per watt. At that time, it's the compact fluorescent lamp, of course. By the time they blew through the compact fluorescent lamp, that is to say, they can already get into all the residential lighting, the entire area of residential lighting. And then soon after that, the efficacy went to roughly about 80 lumens per watt. By that time, that is to say, the industrial lighting as well as outdoor lighting is within the range of LEDs. And then, of course, I would say probably about 18 months ago, it went through that 100 lumens per watt. And that, of course, is the holy grail of a lighting industry, the fluorescent efficacy. By that time, and now, of course, they are pushing even further. I mean, we are talking about 200 lumens per watt. Now, the idea of energy saving is a very powerful and very, very important aspect and metrics for judging a technology and to judge lighting. In fact, that solid state lighting is so good that it is able at this time to reprioritize what is the purpose of lighting, what is important about lighting. I still remember maybe 10, 20 years ago, the quality of lighting is very important. And now all of a sudden, is everything about the quality of lighting? It's almost like taking a back seat from compared to energy saving, isn't it? I think we all feel it, isn't it? We are lighting designers, and now everybody is talking about is what is the lumens per watt. Of course, lumens per watt is very important, but you know what? Lighting is not just technology. It's not just math or physics or engineering. Lighting is also what is design, is art, is architecture. It's ergonomics, and it is psychology, and above all, it is about emotion. And what we are doing, we know that if we do lighting, when it's done well, it is glorious, isn't it? Right? It will ignite the spirit of the space. I mean, it inspires a sense of optimism and upbeat. We all know that. And as a matter of fact, as lighting designers, we live for that moment. It's elation. Do you rather to have that, or would you like to just shave another 1/10 of a watt? Isn't it? Well, of course, we say energy saving is important, and it is very important. Not only we want to save 1/10 of a watt, we really want to save the last microwatt. But with the same token, if all the lighting is done well, then you get 3 billion happy people around the planet. Isn't that important as well? Isn't it? And so I guess the idea here is that the perspective, the design perspective that we want to do is to say, maybe to refocus what is important for lighting. And we think that OLED has that opportunity, has that able to actually excel in that area. And that, of course, is the perspective that we are talking about. Now, let's go back to what sets OLED apart from the rest of the light sources. Well, again, in order to understand that, what we'd like to do is to give you a very short introduction about OLED technology. And I'm not going to bore you with too much detail. Basically, organic LED is the same kind of semiconductor as the inorganic LEDs. The only difference is that with the inorganic LEDs, we are dealing with elements like gallium, germanium, arsenide, aluminum, and so on and so forth. Those are inorganic elements. With organic LEDs, we are talking about semiconductors that is made of carbon molecules, and therefore we call them organic. The reason for the organic is that it contains those type of carbon molecules like the ALQ3 or the MPB. And you really want to know what those molecules are? Well, ALQ3 is called the tricis hydro. But those are the kind of things that this entire industry established just to find out new elements, new materials, new organic materials for the organic OLEDs. And organic LEDs starts roughly about 1987 or 1988 time period. So it's already have about quite a long history. But it really didn't take off until about the middle of 2000s when the OLED become really getting into the center stage. The basic of OLED is very straightforward. You have a substrate. A substrate is nothing more than a fancy word for a piece of glass or a piece of plastic. And on top of this piece of glass, all you do is you put a layer of what we anode. Anode is just another pole of it, for conducting conductor for electricity, and it is a very very thin layer of anode. And on top, you put those MPBs, which is what we call the whole transport. Same thing for inorganic. You got the whole transport. On top of that, you put the electron transport, and then you top it off with a piece, let's say aluminum foil or something like that, to complete the electrical connection. And that you got an OLED. But the overall thickness of that, all those deposits actually is much thinner than that of a human hair. We are talking about in the nanometer length. And the way that I always try to explain an OLED is basically a peanut butter and jelly a sandwich. You got a piece of bread, and then you put peanut butter and jelly, and another piece of bread. You put a battery on it, and you will light up. That is basically an OLED. And of course that is the basic idea of OLED, but a modern day OLED, you got much more layers than just that. And so it's basically a New York deli sandwich. And again, it pretty much explains what an OLED is. The manufacturing and the technology of OLED, though, is very, very complicated and very expensive. In order to bring in a line of a production line, and we are talking here prototype, this probably costs about $20 to $50 million. For Gen 4 type of machine, that for production, it is probably you're talking about $120 to $150 million just to have a line. Again, those big, the big players are the Samsung, LG, Osram, and Philips. And we already have seen that the OLED TVs are brought out by Samsung and LG, and they are those 55-inch television. There's a couple of different technologies that people work with on how to deposit those layers of organic materials. The most common one at this time is the vacuum thermal deposition, and there are other technology that's also being developed at this time. This is a very fast-moving and very very exciting area, and people put hundreds of millions of dollars into this area in order to develop a better OLED. There's a roadmap as to how fast the OLED is it is moving. As a matter of fact, the lighting industry, including Acuity brands, we actually lay down this roadmap for the OLED industry. Unlike what happened to the LED industry, where lighting is actually coming at the very, very end. This time, when we talk about OLED lighting, we in the lighting industry actually take the step, go in and take charge and say that OLED manufacturer and OLED technology, this is what you need in order to make it appropriate and make it relevant for the lighting industry. And you can see that by about 2012 and 2013, we will get about 80 lumens per watt. And then by the time we get to 2016, it will be over 110 lumens per watt. And that will be already very comparable to the LED. And remember, efficiency and efficacy is important, but there are other things that is just as important. So, what makes LED OLED apart from the rest of the source? The first thing is brightness. If you look at all other light source, it is always very bright, isn't it? It's bright, it's glaring, it's obnoxious. Nobody wants to look at it. You cannot view a light source directly. And therefore, what do? We use lampshades, plastics, louvers, baffles to hide it, to take it out of view. In a way, if you think about this, it's kind of ironical. First thing we do is we invent a light source. And then the second thing, we invent a shade to hide it. Why do we need to do that? Well, with OLED, you don't need to. With the OLED, the light source is very calm. And let me just show you. It is, I call this is a very, very noble kind of light. It is, the light came out is very pure, and it is very, very simple. And in a way, I call this kind of light is honest. You don't need anything to dress it up. The light come out as it is. And that nobility of light allows you to celebrate lighting with light. Instead of many cases that we end up, when we try to celebrate lighting, we end up celebrating tin cans and aluminum extrusions or things like that. Now, here's this one by Osram, and let me show you another one. This is one by LG, and you can really tell when we say that the calmness and that nobility of light really his home. And you ask me, what do you mean by that the calmness? And calmness you can tell, but what do you mean by that nobility of light? I say that, well, I'm not really sure I can tell you in a very intellectual way or very left brain way. But you know what? When you show me one, I can tell you. I know. Now, this is only one aspect of OLED that we think is very special. It's the character of the light that is emanated from that surface. Another one, of course, is that almost all other type of light source is large when you compare with OLED. With OLED, it is thin. It's without volume. The fact that the idea of thinness is very important. It's an attribute for design. Remember that about a month ago in the CES show, when they show off that OLED TV, what's the first thing people talk about the OLED TV? It's thin, isn't it? So that thinness is a very important attribute for us to design something that is I think amazingly wonderful. And because the OLED is a piece of of surface emitter, so that we don't have the problem of the heat dissipation. It dissipates through a very large area. The brightness of this surface is anywhere from about 1,000 candela per meter square to about 3,000 or 4,000 candela per meter square. To put it in context, a T5 a T8 lamp is about 9,000 candela per meter square, and a T5 actual is about 27,000 candela per meter square. So you can see that the light coming out from this OLED is much lower, and that's why we call it very much calmer, and you don't need to have any kind of heat sink to deal with the heat. And another thing about OLED is that it can actually have different kind of appearance. It can be circular, as I show you, or square, rectangular, or even free form. These are all the things that's possible. Basically, what happened is that well, I say basically what happened. The manufacturer needs to have a lot of to go to a lot of trouble. But basically, what they have is the substrate. They just inscribe in whatever shape they want to, and encapsulate it, and that become an OLED, whatever shape that you want. But if you ask them that, it will be very expensive to do. I would say that though, at least at this time. Remember that this technology is moving very, very fast. Other kind of design vocabulary about an OLED is that some of them are flexible. I don't have an example of a flexible OLED, but basically you can actually take it's like a flexible piece of plastic. You can actually change the shape, or you can even have a decorative surface on the OLED, or you can make it transparent. I do have a sample of a transparent OLED, and just to show you what it looks like. That is, when you turn it on, it's a light source, but when you turn it off, I wonder if you can see my finger moving. Yeah, so it is transparent. And huh? Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now I turn it off. Can you see my finger moving?
Yes.
Okay, and that is a transparent OLED, and a lot of technology company is working in the same. It is already go beyond the sample stage, and people are now thinking about how do we use the transparent OLED, in some novel way. And finally, of course, the color and color tuning. Like LED, you can have different color OLED. Here is a blue color. Sorry for my clumsiness. Yeah, it is a blue color. And you can have other types of other color. Let me see what this is. When I came over here, I broke one. I think I broke this one is an orange. I think I broke a red one. Oh, sorry. Can you see?
Thank you.
Okay. And then there is a green. And this is a green OLED. And so you can use RGB to do color tuning, and also to do color temperature tuning. So basically, you can use a dial, and then you can change the color temperature. And there's a lot of consequence about that, in terms of wellness, interest as well. We talk about circadian rhythms, and we talk about in the morning sun and the afternoon sun. All that is within the grasp of the technology. And so, if you look at this, we put in the right hand, these are very calm and thin luminous shape can really allow us to create some very amazingly beautiful luminaires. Another thing about OLED, this is a photo that a lot of you may have seen. You know, the intent of this photo is to show the wonderful cutting edge technology of OLED, that it is flexible, that it is thin. But when I first look at this photo, I look at it from a completely different different angle, a different view. What I see is a pair of human hands actually touching a light source. Think about that. Light sources are never meant to be that way. Light sources are always harsh. Light sources are distant, and is not, and it is unapproachable, right? Light source is something that you want not to see. But in this case, with OLED, it is different. We actually want to befriend it. We want to have certain connection with it. And this goes beyond, if you look at this photo and think about it, what it tells us is that OLED, the light source, goes beyond just the idea of form and function. We talk about function, we all know about that. And I've been talking about the form, how wonderful it is. But it goes beyond that. It has to do with the emotion, how you feel about that light source. And so, with OLED, I think the emotional aspect of that is very, very important. Think about the way that people, Philips and Osram and other people, trying to show you what OLED is. They have a person trying to touch the light source. We want to interact with this light source. And look at this lady here. She's gazing at that light source. When's the last time you gazed on a 250 watt metal halide? You don't do things like that. But with OLED, it is different. Indeed, that it is, with OLED, you want to have a connection with it. I just came back from a lighting Japan, and there was tons of LEDs, and there's a few of the OLED. But whenever there is an OLED show, people congregate. And that really tells you that indeed, when people look at this light source, it offers something deeper than simply because it is another way of giving you 50 or 500 lux. Much more than that. OLED review is a very human kind of light source. Now, I would like to just give you a few examples of the OLED luminaire designs. There are great lighting designers that have done amazing and marvelous luminaire design with OLED. But as we all know, as designers, trying to critique somebody else's work is a dangerous business, especially when they're still alive. So, what I'd like, instead of doing that, is simply to try to explain to you some of the ideas behind the design that we actually did it ourselves. This is an OLED luminaire. The first thing when you look at it, I think that got emotional reactions. Number one, I think you feel happy. And number two, that you feel it is kind of familiar, and in a way it's comfortable. And why is that? Well, because the way that the design comes into play is that we look at that rounded OLED as a dot, as a light dot. And if you look at the light dot, of course the dot itself is a very familiar shape, the polka dots. It's been used in design, in architecture, in art, and in fashion. And it is also in a way it is very retro. It started in the late 1800s, and it got revived. Every so often in the 1920s and 1960s and 1980s. So it is something that's very the round shape itself is the dot is very familiar. It also has a retro look. And so what we try to do with this luminaire is that although we are using some quote unquote cutting edge technology, which usually give you a keep us at arm's length. Everything is that cutting edge. We sort of want to stand back a little bit. But this time, if we create a look that is a little more retro, that would make us feel more familiar. That would take away that barrier, and that make the entire the design luminaire to be more acceptable to us, and make it more friendly. And so that is the design goal behind it. Another design here is that we want to explore the idea of thinness. That we want to create a luminaire with OLED that is almost impossible with any other type of light source. That it is thin, and that when we talk about celebrating lighting with light, that in this case, that OLED is the star of that of this luminaire. Everything else is receded to the background, and that's why the frame of that the OLED luminaire is transparent. It's almost it's just there to support the OLED itself. We try to look at that as a flat sheet. If it's just a flat sheet, it's sort of like static. So we sort of create a little bit of motion by creating a little bit of a facet. So that is another design that we come up with OLED. This is a very interesting luminaire. Basically, the idea here is that we feel the simplicity is beautiful. If the last luminaire is that OLED is the star of the luminaire, in this case, OLED is the luminaire. There's nothing else. And all we are doing is just simply reorganize and arrange the 5 different pieces of OLED in a special way, and it become the luminaire. And in a way that you talk about celebration of light and the nobility of that light, I think really comes through in this design. In a way that this design can be applied if you do look at it singularly, or you have a host of those luminaires together. They are still, however you arrange it, it is beautiful. This is, to me, is a very emotional face. The design behind this luminaire is that, remember, the hand that we are befriending that OLED. In this case, we actually try to invite this luminaire into our space. This luminaire, it isn't meant to be marked all the way to the ceiling. If you think about most of the lighting system that we designed, somebody can be there for 10 years, going in and out of the space without even take any notice of lighting. This luminaire is not like that. This luminaire is like a companion. As somebody that you invite into its space is constantly there. Even the gesture of that design, indeed, almost like a going reach over and patting your shoulder, saying that I'm here, I'm with you. And that idea of with lighting to create that, and almost like an envelope of light, actually can promote the whole collaboration, and invite us to work together. And that is what we're trying to do. And it goes to the whole center of what we try to say is that we always know, of course, that form follows function. But sometimes I feel that in this case, actually, the form follows emotion. When your emotion is there, I think the form will actually, you can actually start out and you can begin to see what the form is going to evolve. It started with that emotion. And I think with OLED, we do have the opportunity to reach to that level of our feeling. And again, why OLED lighting? I think the OLED gives us the prospect of creating luminaires that would enhance our visual environment, that satisfy our psychological and our emotional appetite for brightness. In the OLED luminaire, what we try to do is basically take most of the rest of the accessories away. If you think about a 2x4 troffer, you got about 30 pounds, and 29 pounds of that are steel or aluminum or reflector or lenses or levels, and we only support 2 lamps, which weighs about 6 ounces. But with OLED, you can take those and actually minimize it and deconstruct the entire material and bring all the way to everything that is important, which is the light itself. And that, I think, is how we can celebrate lighting with light. And that, I think, is just the beginning. Thank you very much. Oh, yes, of course.
Does anyone have any questions for Peter?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this was very beautiful, and there's a lot of opportunities that I see in this area, but I'm an electrical engineer who often does very conventional lighting designs. So I'm going to ask a very, very conventional question. Can you please give us some comparisons in terms of light output and usage for these fixtures now? What is the time frame that you see these used? Is this still in a prototyping phase right now? Are we seeing these? Are we going to see these in residential, commercial spaces in the future? I mean, there's the option. This is beautiful. Like, you can really see the possibility. But in terms of where we are now versus what's the timeline, and what do you see happening going from here forward?
Yes. Actually, I did not want to bore with you with the detailed engineering and the technical area.
Bore us, please.
As a matter of fact, first of all, in terms of the efficacy, the efficacy is at this time 60 lumens per watt.
Okay.
Yeah, and the lifetime at this time is 15,000 hours.
Okay.
And
Was that 15 or 50?
15,000 hours. And and I can assure you that we have done tremendous amount of work in the technical area, and actually we come up with an idea of what we call application efficiency. Application efficiency is a way that you actually try to figure out what is the best use from a photometric and lighting calculation standpoint of view. See those 5-panel type of luminaire?
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to move the luminaire and locate it where the light is needed. And so the problem with normally in a lighting system, you are fixed with a 8x10 a grid. If you mix it in some other way, the ceiling just looks chaotic. But with OLED, it allows you to rearrange it, and you still aesthetically is beautiful. And from an engineering, application engineering standpoint of view, you still will be able to deliver the light where it's needed. And as a matter of fact, we have research on if you do it in that way and do it appropriately. Although the OLED is at 60 lumens per watt, it is comparable with a fluorescent system when you mount it at a conventional manner. And if you want to know more about that, go to our website, and we have published the technical paper on exactly what that is.
Okay, and what about heat dissipation? Some of the issues they've had with LED lighting?
Yeah, heat will not be an issue. The reason is that that it has a large area to dissipate the heat. And so in any kind of normal design of a luminaire, you do not need to consider heat sinking at all.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any size limitations?
Yes, it depends on the machine. For Gen 2 size, the machine is probably around 22 inches. The substrate that you can go through the machine, a Gen 2 size is about 20-some inch by 30 inch. That will be one single piece of OLED that you can do. Now, for Gen 4, it will be like a 33 by 48 inches. We do not want to do it that way. First of all, from a what we call a yield standpoint of view, if you make a size of OLED that big, then any kind of a burnish, a mistake there, you have to throw away the entire piece. So what people do is they cut it into smaller pieces. If that part is no good, they can throw it away. But there's another reason that the question is a design question. Do we want to have a piece of OLED that's 2 foot by 4 foot to replace a regular fluorescent profile? Yes, and walls and place it on the wall. And our feeling is that perhaps the fact that it is in a relatively smaller tile gives us more design opportunity to create luminaires that's more give us more design opportunity. Now later on, the technology is going to advance to a state where you can actually just print this kind of thing, like a printing press. At that time, I mean, size become almost not even an issue. But that is way in the future. I would say that will be about 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 years from now. It's not quite where it is. What we try to do here is to try to introduce OLED in a way that it is now what we can do at this time.
With the transparent OLEDs that you're showing, is there any limitation to UV exposure? Does that affect your output?
Actually, if you look at the spectrum of an OLED, it's actually very contained within the visible spectrum, and there's hardly any UV at all. Yeah, and another thing about that which is good as compared with LED. LED is very spiky, right? And of course we use phosphor to convert that and to get around it in some case. But with OLED, it's a continuous spectrum. It's much more, in that sense, natural than that of the.
I think maybe I didn't word it right. If you were using an application where it replaced a window or a skylight, where it would be in constant contact with direct UV coming from the sun.
I would say that you would be no more than your regular glass, because the substrate itself at this time is using glass. If we use plastic, it depends on what type of plastic it is.
Okay.
I cannot tell.
I wasn't sure if it was more even the organic material.
The organic material, I think that the issue there is actually whether or not they have material that lasts for a long time. If it is anything at all, I would feel, my feeling is that you will only be additive, that is to say you will make it less UV transmissive, because the glass itself is very comparable to that of the window glass. Yes, sir.
Do you think we'll ever get bright enough to do point source lighting? And what kind of auxiliary equipment do you need?
Yes. Would I think that you will be? Yes, it's possible. Actually, there is a DOE project that the Stanford Research Laboratory is working on. And what they try to do is what they call the cavity effect. They actually create an OLED with create such intense OLED that it is like a point source. It's still in the laboratory state, and we talk to them. And it is kind of interesting, Whether or not you will actually see commercialization, I do not know. The thing about OLED is that we are not saying that OLED is everything. OLED can be very complementary with LED together. OLED is more of a diffuse light, and we can use LED as a focus light to create a complete lighting design. And so those two can exist together very well.
The transparent OLED, can you radiate top and bottom, up and down?
Yes, it can. Yes, on both sides. Maybe I just show you one more time. This side and that side. The color is a little bit different, but you can actually change the percentage. One way or the other. You can have 50-50 or 30-70, and then and then when you take it off, it becomes transparent. Yeah. I think one person in the audience, you are using the OLED, the transparent OLED on one of your projects.
The artist on the project is using transparent OLEDs.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Any other question? Yes, sir.
I'm an interior designer, and will OLEDs ever be incorporated into soft surfaces like fabrics, where we would not have the conventional idea of a fixture, but instead of what we see as a lampshade hiding a source, the lampshade itself is the source of light?
Absolutely, yes, and fabrics too.
Is that currently?
There are people that is doing that, using OLED clothing as part of the decoration. Most of that at this time is still in the entertainment area, but it is possible, and there are flexible OLED, or you can, depends on how you do it. That's organic luminous fabric. There's a whole area of technology that's working on that. Yes.
Are there certain companies that are manufacturing and researching that?
Yes. Philips, look at a lot of them. Who else would that be? There's a number of European companies are working on that. Yeah, notably Philips.
I know that Lomax out of London is doing wallpaper.
Well, wallpaper, yes, and what they are doing there is in England, they are very much working on what we call the polymer. That's become maybe a little bit more into the technical part. There's two types of OLED. One is called the small molecule, one is called the polymer. The small molecule is what is taking place now. There's a lot of, because yes, there is a lot of advancement and has a better history. Polymer is the one that what you are talking about, that using polymer, and the process of creating OLED is a lot easier, and people are working on just like paper, flexible. People think about using the polymers, the substrate, because it's less expensive. It's like you wallpaper the entire wall with light. So it is possible. For us as designers, we do want to ask ourselves, do I want to create a wall that's totally luminous? But that gives us a tool. It's up to our creativity and ingenuity to how to apply those technology.
Thank you, Peter.